Hi everyone, welcome to Eco Learning classes. This is Professor Geeta Mahesh. Dear students, in this video we will be discussing the most important and interesting concepts like basic problems of an economy and role of price mechanism, organization of economic activities under different economic systems. Now let us start with the basic problems of an economy and role of price mechanism. What do you mean by economic problem? The problem of choice itself, we call it as economic problem. Why does problem of choice arises? Or when do problem of choice arises? When you are trying to satisfy your unlimited wants with the limited resources which have alternative uses. This problem is common to all. It may be an individual or a society or a nation. It is a common to all. So when it is common to all, they are also called as central problems of an economy. Basic problems of an economy, central problems of an economy, or fundamental problems of an economy. It may be a socialistic economy, capitalistic economy, or mixed economy. Every economy faces the basic problems of an economy. Why they must deal with such a central problems? Because they are trying to satisfy their unlimited wants with the scarce resources, or we can say that compared to their wants, availability of resources are limited. In relation to the wants, we have limited resources. And this is generally called a central problems of an economy. These central problems of an economy are further divided into four basic economic problems. They are what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce, and what provisions are to be made for economic growth. Dear students, you know the central economic problems are of four types. One is what to produce. The second one is how to produce. Third one is for whom to produce. Fourth one, what provisions are to be made for economic growth. First one, what to produce. So here economy has to decide what type of goods and services are to be produced and in what quantity. As every economy is using a limited resources, they have to decide which type of goods and services should be produced. Not only that, they have to decide how many units of each goods and services should be produced. They have to decide whether they have to produce more of guns or more of butter, or they have to produce more of capital goods which promotes employment opportunity in the future and it will be helpful for future generation, or they have to produce more of consumer goods which increases the standard of living of present generation. Not only the society has to decide about what goods are to be produced, but it has to decide in what quantities. How much wheat, how many hospitals, how many schools, how many machines, how many meters of cloth, etc. have to be produced with the available resources. They have to decide in such a way that they have to reach an equilibrium position. Take example of capital goods and consumer goods. If they produce more of capital goods, the present generation standard of living will come down. If they produce more of consumer goods, the employment opportunities in the future may come down. So they have to try to bring the balance between capital goods and consumer goods according to the available situation in the economy. Dear students, next one is how to produce. That is nothing but a technique of production. The economy has to decide which type of technology they are using. Let me start with an example. When you have alternative techniques of producing a commodity, like to produce cotton cloth, you can use hand looms, power looms or automatic looms. Before we take up this one, first you should have alternative techniques. What are the alternative techniques? We have two types of technology. One is labor intensive technique. Another one is capital intensive technique. What do you mean by labor intensive technique? Means use of more labor than capital in the production. What is capital intensive technology? Means use of more capital than labor in the production. So when you have two methods or alternatives, then you have to decide which type of technology you are using. The production of cotton cloth with the hand looms involves use of more labor. Production with the automatic looms involves use of more machines and capital. So hand looms are the good example for labor intensive technology and use of more machines capital, especially under automatic looms. We call that as a capital intensive technology. The society has to decide whether it has to use labor intensive technique or capital intensive technique to produce a cotton cloth. Likewise, all other goods and services can be produced with a different combination of labor and capital. So this always depends on the availability of different factors of production, that is labor and capital, and their relative price. If labor is more, then they can use labor intensive technology. If capital rich country, then they can use capital intensive technology. If capital is available at cheaper rate, then they go with a capital intensive. If labor is available at cheaper rate, then they go with a labor intensive technology. See, it is in the interest, society interest to use those techniques of production that makes the best use of available resources. Next one is for whom to produce. This is nothing but distribution of national income among different factors of production. So it is another important decision which society has to decide for whom they are going to produce goods and services. As society cannot satisfy each and every wants of all the people, therefore it has to decide who should get how much of total output of goods and services. How goods should be distributed among the members of the society has to be decided. In other words, we can say that it is nothing but sharing of or sharing the national cake of goods and services among different people of the society. Next one is what provision should be made for economic growth. That is nothing but if, as we know that we have limited resources to satisfy unlimited wants. If we use that scarce resources to satisfy the present generations desires or wants, what about the future generation? So society has to decide how to allocate the scarce resources not only for current consumption, even for future consumption. So society would not like to use all its scarce resources for current consumption only, because If it uses all its resources for current consumption, what about the provision for future production, and the society's production capacity would not increase in the future. This implies that incomes or standard of living of the people would remain stagnant, or in future the levels of living may actually decline. Therefore, society has to decide how much they have to save and how much they have to invest. That is nothing but how much sacrifice of current consumption should be made for future progress. Dear students, now let us discuss organization of economic activities under different economic systems. What do you mean by economic system? So we can say that it is a boundary or a set of arrangement where we will undertake economic activities like production, consumption, distribution and exchange. These we call it as economic activities. Economic activities. So in this boundary or in this society, there will be individuals as well as economic institutions. So you must be wondering how different economies of the world will be solving their central problems. See, economies are broadly classified into three divisions. They are centrally planned economy, capitalistic economy and mixed economy. So how they are going to solve the economic problems, basic economic problems, while they are managing economic activities. What are economic activities? Production, exchange, distribution, even you can consider consumption, and even the role of government in economic activities we will discuss under different economic systems. Let us see these three different systems of an economy. First one is capitalistic economy, which is also known as market economy, socialistic economy known as command economy or centrally planned economy. The third one is mixed economy. Let us start with the capitalistic economy. Capitalistic economy is also known as market economy or free market economy. Under capitalistic economy, all economic activities are owned and controlled by private individuals and they aim at profit maximization. You can see the capitalism, the predominant economic system in the modern global economy. Here the production are owned by all type of production activities are owned and controlled by private people or private individuals or private sector which aims at profit maximization. The decisions of consumers and businessmen determine the economic activities. The role of government in this type of economy will be limited with respect to management of economic affairs under capitalistic economy. The good examples of capitalistic economy are United States, United Kingdom, Hong Kong, and you can consider South Korea, etc. Many of them are not pure form of capitalism but show some features of being a capitalistic economy. This economy is also called as capitalistic economy or free market economy or laissez-faire economy. What is laissez-faire means? Laissez-faire is nothing but a minimum interference of government in economic activities. Let us start the characteristics of capitalistic economy. First one is right to private property. That means the private individuals has a right to own productive factors like land, factories, machineries, mines, etc. That means all these productive activities are productive. Factories will be under the control of private individuals, and the owners are free to use them in the manner they like. And the government may, to some extent, they may put a restriction for the benefit of the society in general. Freedom of enterprise. Everyone, whether the producer, consumer or resource owner, is free to engage in any type of economic activity. For example, producer is free to set up any type of firm and produce goods and services of his choice. Freedom of economic choice. All individuals are free to make their economic choice regarding production, consumption, work, exchange, etc. He can decide what type of goods he wants to consume and what type of goods he wants to produce, where to work, which type of work he has to choose. It is left to him. Next one is profit motive. The main goal of capitalistic economy is maximization of individual profit. So the profit is the driving force in a free enterprise economy. They direct all economic activities in order to maximize the profit. Desire for profit includes entrepreneur to organize production activities in order to earn maximum profit. Next one is consumer sovereignty. That means we call consumers are kingmakers. See here, consumers is supposed to be the king under capitalism. They are the kingmakers. If you set up any business, if all consumers like that business, then you become a successful businessman. If you lose consumers and consumers are not liking your product, then you are going to be a failure businessman. Consumer sovereignty means the buyers ultimately determine which type of goods, services will be produced and in what quantity. All producers will produce such type of goods and services which are preferred by consumers. Therefore, producers have to produce goods and services which are preferred by consumers, and according to consumer preference, the scarce or limited resources are allocated, and because of this reason they are called as consumer sovereignty. Competition. Under capitalistic economy, there will be a heavy competition, and it will be competition between the buyers and sellers, and this makes a better or efficient utilization of available resources. Absence of government intervention. In a purely capitalistic economy, is not a centrally planned economy. Okay, controlled and regulated by government. That means in a centrally planned economy, all economic activities are controlled and regulated by government. But in purely capitalistic economy, this will not happen. The government intervention is very less, and they have to provide internal and external security and nothing to do in economic activities. So here all economic decisions and activities are guided by self-interest and price mechanism, which operates automatically without any direction and control by government authorities or any private individuals or any organization. This will undertake or operates automatically without any guidance or control from the government. Dear students, you know how do capitalist economies solve their central problems? In a capitalistic economy, there is no centrally planning authority to decide what, how and for whom to produce. When there is an absence of any centrally authority, it becomes or it looks like a miracle how such an economy functions. You know, consumers want to buy car, producer want to produce cloth, and the workers want to work in a furniture industry. So there is a totally confusion in the economy or in a country. However, this does not happen in a capitalistic economy because capitalistic economy works on the force of market demand and market supply or price mechanism or market mechanism. It helps to solve these type of problems. What do you mean by price mechanism? It is a process of determining the price with the help of demand and supply. This demand and supply we call it as market forces. Now, how capitalistic economy is going to decide what to produce? You know, entrepreneurs mainly aims at profit maximization and they are going to produce such type of goods which a consumer wish to buy. Let us understand with the help of an example. Suppose consumers wants more of car, so definitely demand for car increases. Keeping cost of production of cars constant, when demand for car increases, price also increases. When price increases, definitely profits are also going to increase. So producer like to produce more of cars because consumer wish to buy those products. If consumers preference for cloth decreases, then the prices of cloth will decrease and profits would go down and producer is going to produce less of cloth and more of cars because car will bring more profit and cloth will bring up less profit. So this is how they are going to decide what type of goods need to be produced. In a capitalist economy like USA, UK, Germany, the question regarding what to produce is ultimately decided by consumers who shows their preference by spending on such type of goods and services. Next one is deciding how to produce. See, already I told there will be two types of technology. One is labor intensive technology and another one is capital intensive technology. If we keep price constant, you can earn profit by reducing the cost of production. See, let us take a cost of production is 10 rupees and price is 12 rupees. Now keeping price constant, if you are able to reduce cost from 10 rupees to 8 rupees, your profit will increase from 2 rupees to 4 rupees. So the other way to increase your profit is reducing the cost of production. When you have two types of technology, the economy has to decide how they have to produce goods and services. So they use or choose that type of technology which reduces the cost of production. So his cost of production should be minimum. Such type of technology they are going to use. If labor is relatively cheaper, then they use labor intensive method. If capital is cheaper, then they use capital intensive technology. Thus, the relative price of factors of production will help us to decide what type of how goods should be produced. Next one is deciding for whom to produce. The goods and services in a capitalist capitalistic economy are produced for those people who are having a purchasing power, who are rich or who are able to buy the goods and services. So which always depends on income of the consumer. Income will help us to decide the ability of consumer. Depending upon the income, how much income he is able to spend, on which type of goods and services he is going to spend that money. All this will help us to take a decision what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. You know, income, it depends on the amount that he earns by working, or the prices of factors that he owns. It also depends on how much property he owns. So income means not only the income or the cash he holds, it is related to the income he is able to earn and the factors he owns, the price of the factors he owns. It also depends on how much property he owns. Higher the income, higher will be his buying capacity and higher will be the demand for goods in general. Next one is provision for economic growth, that is nothing but deciding the consumption, saving and investment. Consumption and savings are done by consumers, whereas investment are done by entrepreneurs. The consumer savings among other factors are governed by rate of interest. If there is a high rate of interest, high savings will be there. And at the same time, savings also depends on higher level of income. If you have more income or higher income, then your savings will be higher. What about the investment? Investment depends on rate of returns. Rate of returns is nothing but a expected profit. If you expect more profit by making investment in that particular business, then you are going to make an investment. Greater the profit expectation, higher will be the investment in the capitalist economy. Rate of interest and on savings and rate of returns on capital are nothing but prices of capital. Thus, we see about what goods are to be produced, by which method they are to be produced, for whom they are produced, what provision should be made for economic growth are decided by price mechanism or market mechanism. Now let us discuss merits of capitalist economy. Dear students, you know capitalist economy is self-regulating and it works automatically through price mechanism. There is no need to incur cost for the sake of collecting, processing of information and even for formulating implementation and monitoring of policies. So, capitalist as it is self-regulated and working automatically through or with the help of price mechanism. The existence of private property and the driving force of profit maximization results in a great efficiency and incentives to work. The process of economic growth is faster under capitalism or capitalistic economy compared to other type of economy. This is because investors try to invest only in those projects which are economically feasible. The resources are used in the activities in which they are most profitable or productive, resulting optimum allocation of available productive resources of the economy. There is a usually high degree of operative efficiency under capitalism. the cost of production they try to minimize. When every producer tried to minimize the cost in order to maximize their profit, then by enjoying the methods of production which are cost effective. The capitalist system offers incentives for efficient economic decisions and their implementations. In a capitalist economy, consumers are benefited as the competition forces producers to bring into the market a large variety of good quality products at a reasonable price. This along with the freedom of choice ensures the maximum satisfaction to consumers, and thereby the standard of living of those consumers are going to increase. Capitalism offers incentives for innovations and technological progress. When there is an invention and technological progress, it is a benefit for achieving economic development, and even the country as a whole benefits through growth of business talents and even development of research, etc. Capitalism fundamentally it gives encouragement for freedom or right to freedom, right to private property, and therefore the participants enjoy the amount of autonomy and freedom. Capitalism rewards men of initiative and entrepreneurs, and it punishes imprudent and inefficient people. Capitalism also usually functions in a democratic framework. Capitalist setup encourages the entrepreneurs, risk-taking, and emergence of entrepreneurial class willing to take a risk. Dear students, now let us discuss demerits of capitalism. You know, as there will be a inequality between income or the property rights will leads to economic inequality, and this leads to social injustice under capitalism. When there is a economic inequalities, there will be a gap between haves and have-nots, because the inequalities reduce the aggregate economic welfare of the society as a whole, and it splits the society into haves and have-nots, and the difference between these two classes will increase. Under capitalism, there is a lot of, that means the property rights will overrule the rights of human rights. Economic inequalities leads to wide difference between differences with respect to economic opportunities and unfairness in the society. Capitalism or capitalist ignores human welfare because they mainly aims at profit maximization, not maximization of human welfare. Due to income inequality, the pattern of demand does not represent the real needs of the society. Exploitation of labor under capitalism is more, and very often you can see in the capitalist economy strikes and lockouts. However, there is no security for employment, and this makes workers more vulnerable. The consumer sovereignty is a myth, as consumers often becomes a victim of exploitation. Excessive competition and profit motive work against consumers' welfare. In a capitalistic economy, there will be a misallocation of resources because resources will be moved in order to produce the luxurious items. They allocate the resources very less for the sake of production of low priced goods as they bring less profit for them. Here you can see less of merit goods like education, health care will be produced. On the other hand, a large number of goods and services which are positively harmful for the society will be produced as they bring more profit to producers. Due to unplanned production, economic instability in terms of overproduction, economic depression, unemployment, etc. is very common under capitalism. There is a lot of human misery. You can remember 1930s Great Depression which was faced by America because of or due to unplanned production. There is a wastage of resources as firms spend huge amount only for the sake of advertisement and for the sake of sales promotion. Capitalism leads to formation of monopolies as large firms may able to ruin the small one by either fair or unfair competition. Excessive materialism as well as conspicuous and unethical consumption leads to environmental degradation. Dear students, now start with the socialistic economy. What do you mean by socialistic economy? Economy where all economic activities are owned and controlled by government or central planning authority. In the socialistic economy, all economic decisions will be taken by central government on the basis of price mechanism. The concept of socialist economy was propounded by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels in their work The Communist Manifesto, which was published in 1848. In this economy, material means of production, that is factories, capital, mines, etc. are owned by state, which we call it as the representative of the whole community. All the members are entitled to get the benefits from the fruits of socialized planned production on the basis of equal rights. A socialist economy is also known as command economy or centrally planned economy. Here resources are allocated according to the commands of centrally planning authority. Therefore, the market forces such as demand and supply or price mechanism has no role in the allocation of resources. Under a socialist economy, production, distribution of goods are aimed at maximizing the welfare of the community as a. Now let us discuss some important characteristics of socialistic economy. Collective ownership. As already I told, all economic activities are owned by government. So there is a collective ownership with respect to all means of production except small farms, workshops, trading firms which may remain in the hands of private people. As a result of social ownership, the profit and self-interest are not the driving force of economic activities under socialistic economy like market economy. The resources are used for achieving socio-economic objective of economy as a whole. Economic planning, as already we know, the centrally planning authority is going to set and achieve socio-economic goals. That is why it is called as centrally planned economy. Major economic decisions like what to produce, where to produce, when to produce, how to produce, how much to produce, all these are taken by centrally planned economy. And there is the absence of consumer choice. The freedom for hunger is guaranteed, but consumer sovereignty gets restricted by selective production of goods and services by socialistic economy. The range of choice is limited by the planned production. However, within the given range, the individual is free to choose what he likes the most. The right to work is guaranteed, but the choice of occupation get restricted because they are determined by centrally planning authority on the basis of certain socio-economic goals before the nation. In a socialistic economy, you can see relatively equal income distribution. So the gap between haves and have-nots you cannot see in a socialistic economy, and it is an important feature of socialism. Among other things, the differences in income and wealth are narrowed down by a lack of opportunity to accumulate private capital or private property. Education and other facilities are enjoyed more or less equally by all the people, and the basic cause of inequality are removed. The minimum role of price mechanism or market forces. Price mechanism exists in a socialistic economy only as a secondary role in order to, for example, in order to dispose the accumulated stocks. Since the allocation of productive resources are done according to the predetermined plans by planning authority, the price mechanism does not influence their decisions. The absence of profit motive price mechanism less its predominant role in economic decisions. The prices prevailing under socialism are administered prices by centrally planning authority on the basis of the aim or goal set. What are the goals? Socio-economic objectives. Absence of competition. As we know that in a centrally planned economy or socialistic economy, the state alone is the sole entrepreneur, so there is no competition at all under socialism. The good example is the former USSR was an example for socialistic economy from 1970 to 1990. Now in the real world, no country which is purely socialistic, and few examples which matches with the socialistic characteristics are Vietnam, China, and Cuba, North Korea are the examples for socialistic economy. Now let us discuss merits of socialism. As there will be an equitable distribution of wealth and income, and the provision of equal opportunity for all helps to maintain socio-economic justice. Rapid and balanced economic development is possible as there will be a central planning authority which is going to cooperate allocation of resources in an efficient manner according to the socio-economic priorities set by centrally planned authority. In a socialist economy or centrally planned economy, there will be a better utilization of resources and ensures a maximum production, and we can avoid all type of or all kind of waste as it was strictly planned by centrally planned authority. Since there is a waste or absence of competition, there won't be any wastage of resources on advertisements and sales promotion. In a centrally planned economy, unemployment is minimized and business fluctuations are eliminated, and there will be a stability in the economy. The absence of profit motive helps the community to develop and cooperate mentally and avoid all class wars, along with the equality, and ensures the better welfare of the society. Next one, as already we discussed at this point, absence of profit motive helps the community to develop the cooperative mentality and avoid clash of classes or avoid class wars. And this, along with the equality, ensures the better welfare of the society. Socialism ensures the right to work and minimum standard of living to all the people. Under socialism, laborers and consumers are protected from the exploitation by the employers, monopolies, respectively. There is a provision for comprehensive social security under socialism. This makes the citizens feel comfortable and secured. Dear students, now let us discuss the demerits of socialism. You know, in a socialistic economy, all economic activities will be controlled or owned and controlled by government. As there is a more involvement of government leads to predominance of bureaucracy and resulting in inefficiency and delay. Moreover, this may lead to corruption, red tapeism and favoritism, etc. It restricts the freedom of individuals. There is a state ownership of material means of production, state direction, control of nearly all economic activities will act as a restriction on freedom of individuals. Socialism takes away the basic right, that is right of private property. It will not provide necessary incentives like profit in order to work hard. Administrated prices are not determined by the market forces, that is demand and supply, are on the basis of negotiation between the buyers and sellers. There is no proper basis for cost calculation. In the absence of such practices, the most economic and scientific allocation of resources and efficient functioning of economy is highly impossible. State monopolies created by this socialism sometimes becomes uncomfortable, and it becomes very difficult to regulate than the private monopolies under capitalism. Under socialism, consumers have limited freedom of choice as they have to accept whatever the state is going to produce. No importance will be given for personal efficiency and productivity. Laborers are not rewarded according to their efficiency. This policy will act as a disincentive to work. Extreme form of socialism is not at all practicable. Now let us discuss mixed economy. What do you mean by mixed economy? An economy where there will be a coexistence of both private and public sector, or it is a golden mixture of both capitalistic and socialistic features. See, mixed economic system depends on both the markets and governments for allocation of resources. Every economy in the real world makes use of both the markets and governments. Therefore, in real world, all economies are mixed economy in its nature. In a mixed economy, the aim is to develop a system which tries to include both the best features of controlled economy and market economy by excluding their demerits. It appropriates advantages of private entrepreneurs and private property with their emphasis on self-interest and profit motive. The vast economic development of England, USA is due to private enterprises. At the same time, it is noticed that private property, profit motive, self-interest of market economy may not promote the interest of community as a whole. In such type or in such situation, government should remove these type of defects of private enterprises. For this purpose, government itself must show interest and start run important and selected industries and eliminate free play of profit motive and self-interest. Private entrepreneurs has its own significance and is also allowed to play positive role in a mixed economy. However, the state imposes necessary measures to control and regulate the private sector in order to achieve the socio-economic objectives or welfare objective of a nation. Now let us understand mixed economy in a better way with the help of features of mixed economy. You know, in a mixed economy, there is a coexistence of both the private and public sector, and it is an important feature of mixed economy. And mixed economy, therefore, you can see there are three types of sectors of industries. Private one, private sector industries. The production and distribution in this sector are owned and managed or controlled by private individuals or group of private individuals. Industries in this sector are based on self-interest and profit motive. This system of private property, in this system private property will exist and personal incentives is given more scope or full scope. Private entrepreneurs may be regulated by government directly or indirectly by a number of policy instruments. Next one is public sector industries. In this sector, you can see industries are functioning and they are not primarily profit oriented, but they are set up by the state for the sake of welfare of the community. Combined sectors also you can see, that means industry is owned and controlled by both private and government. That means sector in which both government and private enterprises have equal access. They join hands to produce commodities, services, leading to establishment of joint sectors. Now let us discuss merits of mixed economy. Mixed economy has the following merits of both capitalistic and socialistic economy. The first one, economic freedom and existence of private property, which ensures incentives to work. Price mechanism and competition forces private sector to promote efficient decision making and better allocation of resources. Consumers are benefited through consumer sovereignty and freedom of choice. Appropriate incentives for innovation and technological progress encourages the entrepreneur and risk-taking people. Advantages of economic planning and rapid economic development on the basis of planned priority and comparatively greater economic, socio-economic equality and freedom from exploitation because or due to greater state participation and direction of economic activities by government. The disadvantages of cutthroat competition avoided by government through legislative measures such as environment and labor regulations is possible under mixed economy. Even mixed economy is not free from demerits. Okay, a mixed economy is not always a golden path between capitalism and socialism. It suffers from substantially uncertainties. In a mixed economy, sometimes is characterized by excessive control by state government. This results in reduction in incentives, constrained growth of private sector, poor implementation of planning by government, higher tax rates, and lack of efficiency, corruption, wastage of resources, undue delay in economic decision, and poor performance of public sectors. Moreover, it is very difficult to maintain appropriate balance between private and public sector. Absence of strong government incentives. The private sector is likely to grow disproportionately. The system would be resemble socialism with all its disadvantages. Dear students, I tried to explain line by line because while you are answering multiple choice questions, you should have complete information. So because of that intention, I have considered each and every sentence and I focused on each and every point. Dear students, if you like, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.